For 28 years, I was the outcast at family gatherings, overlooked and dismissed until the moment I inherited everything and watched them all scramble to reconnect. Every holiday meal, I was invisible. My cousins were celebrated for their modest accomplishments, while I could have invented a revolutionary technology and they'd still ask when I'd find a proper career. My Aunt Lorraine would sidestep me to embrace whoever stood behind me. Uncle Victor would boast about his children to strangers, conveniently forgetting I existed. "Meet my son, Leo, the surgeon, and my daughter, Clara, the attorney," he'd declare, chest swollen with pride. His gaze would glide past me as if I were part of the decor, even though I stood there clutching a bottle of fine wine I'd brought as a thoughtful gesture. Always premium wine, because I'd learned early that lesser gifts gave them another excuse to ignore me. My sin. I left law school in my second year to launch a tech startup. To them, I was a dropout who'd squandered a respectable path to tinker with software. The fact that my company, DataWave Innovations, was flourishing and generating millions annually meant nothing in their rigid social order. I wasn't a doctor, lawyer, or financier, so I was irrelevant in their world. "He's just experimenting," my mother would say to relatives who inquired about my absence from family events. "He'll come around and finish his degree eventually." This was years after I'd secured my first $1 million client deal. I stopped trying after my college graduation. I'd earned a master's in computer engineering while working full-time, maintaining a perfect GPA despite 60-hour work weeks split between my startup and studies. When I shared the milestone in the family chat, complete with a photo of me in my cap and gown, it was met with utter silence. 3 days of nothing. But when my cousin Ezra was promoted to shift supervisor at a local cafe, earning $12 an hour, the chat erupted with 47 congratulatory messages, 3 dinner invitations, and a group gift of a fancy watch for the rising star of the family. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was employing 15 people by then. At holiday dinners, I was relegated to the children's table, despite being 28 and older than many adults there. My place was always between my 8-year-old cousin and the high chair. At weddings, I was excluded from family photos. They'd ask me to step out for just the family shots, as if I'd been disowned genetically. "Could you take this picture?" they'd say, handing me their phones like I was hired help. During conversations, they'd speak as if I weren't there, discussing my life in third person while I stood nearby, sipping a drink and wondering why I'd driven 3 hours to be humiliated. "What's Quinn up to?" Aunt Lorraine would ask my mother, as if I wasn't sitting 2 feet away at the same table. "Oh, he's still messing around with that tech stuff," Mom would reply, brushing it off like swatting a mosquito. "Something with apps or whatever." My app thing had just signed a deal with a Fortune 500 company, but facts never disrupted their narrative. The worst part? I kept showing up hoping one day they'd ask about my life with real curiosity, that they'd finally see me as part of the family. It never happened. Then, Grandmother Evelyn passed away. I was the only one who visited her weekly at Horizon Pines, a sprawling care home that